back to Crown Chats. I'm so excited to welcome today's guest. He is the force behind synthetic cinema and a top producer behind many fan favorite Hallmark Channel films in the last decade, including Next Stop Christmas, Ghosts of Christmas Always, A Merry Scottish Christmas, Mystic Christmas, Biltmore Christmas, The Finnish Line, and The Christmas Quest. Please welcome Andrew Gernhard. Woo! Thank you so much for joining Crown Chats today. I'm honored to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
You have an incredibly impressive resume that spans nearly 2 decades in the film industry. What is it that made you fall in love with storytelling and film, and how were you able to turn that into a career path?
It's funny, I wanted to be an artist as a kid. I went to high school to be like a fine artist, like legitimately a painter and, that type of thing. And my high school was Norwich Free Academy, which actually had a whole degree in fine art. The problem is I was great in elementary school and junior high, but when I got to high school, I had the most talented class ever in NFA's history. And because I wanted to get, college support, I went into visual arts, which was, video production, because the secret was nobody was going for that. So I was a shoo-in to win all the visual, grants and stuff. So I went into public access. I trained myself through public access with some great mentors there. And then I went to Southern Connecticut State University for a television production with a minor in graphic design. And that's where I got into, I pushed myself to do, shoot on film rather than video, and to create, some special effects where other students weren't doing special effects, and really get into the high level classes to get through them pretty quickly. And then I went and did educational videos right after that, which led to my first film called Jaws, because I was looking for an outlet. Not Jaws. My mistake. It's called Trees, which is a parody of Jaws. I wish I did Jaws, but Trees was a shot-for-shot parody of Jaws, about a killer great white pine tree versus a lumberjack, a botanist, and a forest ranger. A bunch of friends and I did it as like a creative relief for doing all these educational videos. And it went from a short film to doing an entire scene-for-scene parody of Jaws in this movie Trees. And it was picked up by Blockbuster Video when that was around, for people who remember Blockbuster Video. And there was tons of copies out there of that, which led me into doing, movies, which that went to monster movies, which were big at the time. And then monster movies turned into thrillers, and then thrillers turned into Christmas movies. So now I love all genres of movies, but typically 90% of what I do is Christmas now for all the different networks. I've done movies for Hallmark, Lifetime, BET, Netflix, Paramount, everybody.
There are many important roles to bring to life what we know as a Hallmark Channel movie. What is your role as the producer, and how do you facilitate the creative process of making a film start to finish?
Well, with the Hallmark movies, we do a couple different things for them. Sometimes we're production services where we just, we get a script from Hallmark and we make the movie. Other times we develop the movies in-house, which means we put pitches together, they get turned into, one pages, and then they get turned into outlines, which a lot of our great movies are developed from us, like Merry Scottish Christmas and Next Stop Christmas and some ones coming up. But I'm there from beginning to end on these movies, from the very tiny thought of the movie, whether that be traveling around or in a coffee shop, to the very end where we're delivering tax credits and all the final accounting. I am there from beginning to end of all these movies. And typically I'm the main producer, or I play an executive producer, but I have a lot of co-producers I work with, like Dustin Reichert and Molly Mayu and Colin Thays. But Colin and Dustin are both directors and producers, and they just go off. Sometimes they direct things, sometimes they produce things. But we have a great group of people, kind of based in the New England area and New York as well, that we all kind of come together, and we created this great team of people that make these great Hallmark movies, because we're folks that really care about the Hallmark movies and movies in general. We're not an assembly line. We're not doing a volume of movies. we're doing movies that we put our all into. It's not, let's just do this to get it done. We really want it to be the best it can be. So if I get $100, I make the $100 look like $1,000. If I get $1,000, I make the $1,000 look like $10,000. So we really put our heart and souls into these movies. So, everybody's happy. We're happy. Hallmark's happy. The fans are happy, which is the most important thing. And we really try and put it out there. We really kind of push the boundaries of what we can do visually and storytelling wise. And, so far it's been really good. The Hallmark audience has loved a lot of our stuff. And I love seeing those, reviews and comments online of what people enjoy. And we learn from those comments where to go in the future or where we can play with a little more. And, that's a really important part is catering to what the fans and the audience wants.
So looking at your background and your love of the sci-fi genre, is it possible, since we've seen some dabbling at Hallmark with The Christmas Quest being a nice change of pace, a little Hallmark Indiana Jones National Treasure, if you will, is it possible that we see more of those kinds of themes and stories coming to Hallmark in the future?
Well, I know, Christmas Quest was probably my favorite movie because it combines everything I love. I love Lacey. I love Chris. I love Iceland, and I love the adventure and Christmas theme of the whole thing. Plus, you know, Iceland is their Christmas culture is so much different than Americans, with the 13 Yule lads and all that. So it was great to actually introduce that, to the mass audience. So I really enjoyed that movie. And Hallmark has done. We did the Finnish Line, which was a dog race across Finland during Christmas, which I thought was fun. And Next Stop Christmas is one of my top movies too. The time traveling train with Christopher Lloyd. So I do in the future. I see. Maybe Hallmark will get a little bit more into some magic and some time travel because Hallmark loves time travel.
You have produced over a dozen of the fan favorite Hallmark Channel films. Do you have any cool behind the scenes stories on location or working with any of the artists or creative people behind the scenes?
Thinking back to what we last did, being with Lacey and Chris in Iceland to shoot Christmas Quest. I think the funniest thing was it's funny but terrible at the same time. It's keeping the actors warm. I mean, Iceland, even though there's not a ton of snow, is freezing cold. And there were 2 nights that were god awful. And I know we had Lacey and Chris in like that electronic undersuits that kept them warm, plus a layer, and then plus their outfits. And I know they had their romantic kiss scene, and it was freezing cold. So those are just some crazy things. I know Lacey was like, "Why did you bring me here?" But it was a great experience. And the funny thing is, Iceland is very cold. We went to Finland to shoot a portion of the Finnish Line, even though that's further north, right near the North Pole with Santa's Village. That was warmer. That felt like Bahamas to me compared to what Iceland was. And they had 3-4 feet of snow. So I mean, cold is a thing. But meanwhile, we shoot a lot of Christmas movies during the summer, and like Trivia at St. Nick's was that same year was shot in Connecticut in July, and it was the hottest July we have ever had. So poor Lacey is at -20, and everybody else for trivia, Christmas at St. Nick's, they're outside in like 100-degree weather, huge humidity, wearing these big coats, trying to walk along and pretend to be cold. So I feel like what's funny with Hallmark movies is the extremes of what you have to kind of, movie magic between what's summer and what's winter, because there's this constant flow of movies that have to happen. So you kind of have to work on them whenever they get greenlit.
And that brings us to our final segment, which I like to call a little crown to crown, which is simply a rapid fire response. I will ask you a question and you give me the first topic that comes to mind. So simple enough to start with. Favorite holiday?
Halloween.
Favorite Ghostbuster?
Peter Venkman.
Mine too. There you go. What is one Hallmark Channel movie moment that you would love to experience in real life?
I think the time traveling train from Next Stop Christmas would be the best thing to experience in real life.
Imagine you are competing in a Hallmark showdown full of competitions like Christmas cookie decorating, ugly sweater making, and more. Who are you pairing up with, and who are you going against?
Oh my gosh. I probably would team up with somebody like a Hallmark star like Lacey, because she must know everything by now of how to create everything. And I don't know who I would go against. Uh, I don't know.
If you could leave viewers with one piece of Hallmark advice to apply that little movie magic to their life, what would it be?
I think it's just appreciate what you have in the moment because time goes by so fast. I have little girls now and I have parents, and everybody's, you can't stop time. So really, really appreciate what you have in the moment as opposed to always, either dwelling on the past, which memories are great, but also too much thinking about the future. And it's hard. I fall into the same thing. I'm always worrying about the future, always thinking about the past, but try and take time for yourself and your family to think about this particular moment that you're in, especially at the holidays.
And lastly, a favorite charity or organization that you would like to give a shout out to that holds a place in your heart.
Well, we always support Make-A-Wish. I think it's important to support those kids and the company. So we always support Make-A-Wish with kind of walk-on spots and all that type of stuff to, make wishes happen. So I do that shout out to Make-A-Wish.
And that wraps us up. Thank you so much for your time. I think I speak for the entire Hallmark Channel audience and movie watching audience in general that we are so grateful for the stories you have brought to us, and we know that there are many incredible ones to come in the future. Before we go, could you please just let everybody know where they can find and follow you to keep up with all things synthetic cinema and Andrew Gernhard?
Yeah, you can just either Google Synthetic Cinema International or find us on Instagram or Facebook. You can friend Synthetic Cinema on the Facebook fans page. We're also on X, which used to be Twitter, of course, but pretty soon we got dropped calling it Twitter. So just find us on all those social medias.
And that wraps up another episode of Crown Chats. Thank you all for your support so far in this venture, and I promise you we have even more incredible guests coming here in the future. So you don't want to miss out. Please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Be sure to follow me at Crown the Halls on Instagram. And until next time, wear your crown. Your crown may tilt, but may it never fall. But you are beautiful and you are strong.